All right, welcome everyone to our podcast this week. This week we've got Nicola from TribalScale. I'll throw it to you for a quick intro.
Yeah, thanks so much, Jason, and thank you so much for having me on the pod here. Very excited. So my name's Nicola. I am the HR manager here at TribalScale. I suppose I'll tell you a little bit more about TribalScale first. TribalScale is a global innovation firm, and we build best-in-class digital products for our clients through agile practices. So what essentially we do is we build and design cloud-native software solutions for web, mobile, and emerging tech. So that could be wearables, NFT, crypto, you name it, we will work on it.
Oh wow, I didn't know you guys also did like crypto blockchain stuff.
Oh
That's
yeah,
sweet.
we've actually built our own NFT marketplace, and that's one of our ongoing projects at the moment. We have a very big confidential client. I can't reveal the name, that has their own NFT marketplace that we work for. So anything emerging tech, we want to be involved with that, riding the future, and making sure that we're staying on our mission of focusing on what's the latest in tech. How can we get involved with it? What can we learn? What can we take away from it?
Awesome. That's great. So yeah, I want to, even before we talk about TribalScale, I want a little bit more about you. I want to understand like how you kind of ended up at TribalScale, what your past was, you can go as far back as you want, but your school, your program, and kind of the journey that you've taken to end up here.
Yeah, that's actually a great question because it's quite a funny story actually. So obviously I'm from Ireland. Shock, you can probably tell from the accent. I moved here to Toronto nearly 3 years ago, and the time has absolutely flown. But right now, as you know, I'm the HR manager here, so I'll tell you I'll start from now and then work backwards. Basically, what I do is I sit on the leadership team, and I lead the team of people and culture specialists here at TribalScale. So what I do is I take our vision from leadership and where we want to go with the organization and our strategy for that year, and make sure that our HR strategy is aligned to that. So what can we do from a HR department to make sure that we're, contributing towards the company goal and the vision of what we want to be at TribalScale. So that is literally the employee experience from hire to retire. That is what we lead here. So anything related to people at all. So, making sure that the candidate experience with TribalScale is amazing. And from the minute that they send their application for a job on our careers portal, right up till they meet the first person at TribalScale to discuss the position, up until their last day when they're retiring, which hopefully will be more than few. So really looking after employee wellness, again, the culture, that's, making sure that we're communicating our values. We're very obsessed with our values here at TribalScale. And there's a lot of research out there to show that organizations that are obsessed with their values kind of create this amazing culture, which I do believe we have, which we can talk later on. But I suppose let me take it back to where I started, because I'm just dive straight into TribalScale there. So I actually talk about this at TribalScale quite a bit during our coffee chats. I actually started off in environmental science and health, believe it or not. That's what I went to school for 4 years for. In high school, I was totally obsessed. I'll admit it, completely nerdy of me, but with chemistry, maths, and biology. So it just felt like a natural progression for me to go into science. And, everyone in my family was like, oh my God, that's your forte, go study science. Not everyone has the opportunity to do that. If numbers are your thing and science is your thing, go for it. So I went in, and that was great. After year one, I was like, oh God, I don't know if this is for me. So I did my co-op placement in a pharmaceutical company in my third year. And to be very transparent with you, I hated my life every single day there. It wasn't for me. I just had this realization where I don't know if I can do this for the next 40, 50 years of my life. It's not giving me any satisfaction. I'm not really challenged, and I'm not playing to my strengths. So in Ireland, the main kind of career or sector industry that you'll go into following a science degree is pharmaceuticals, because we've such a big pharmaceutical industry in Ireland. So I was like, this is not what I envisioned when I joined up for environmental science. I saw myself in rainforests, saving polar
Change the
bears,
world.
literally changing the world. And I certainly wasn't doing that in the quality assurance department of a pharmaceutical company.
Yeah.
So I went in, I completed my degree, I got my school, got the certificate, and then realised, okay, I am not going back to a lab, just is not happening. So what I did was I travelled to San Diego for a couple of months with my friends, took some time out, came back. I'm a qualified swim teacher and lifeguard, so did a couple of swim classes on the side, kept me going. And then I learned about, recruitment. And I was like, wow, you get to talk to people and chat to them on the phone and interview them and find out so much information about them. Absolutely sign me up. So basically found an organisation. It's like a boutique recruitment agency in the heart of Dublin City. And I was going to be kind of coming in as the first person on their pharmaceutical and science desk. So what I would be responsible for is recruiting people for the pharmaceutical and science industry in Ireland. So I was like, okay, I'm still using my degree and I'm playing to what I think my strengths are. And that's where it all kicked off. And, I spent a couple of years there and built a great network of people and moved then into in-house recruitment and HR in Ryanair, which is a major airline in Europe. Ryanair, right. Yeah. That was a fantastic learning curve where I kind of started in talent acquisition, moved internally up into HR, where I was managing all HR related issues for pilots, cabin crew and our head office staff. And then, as I do, typical me, I was like, what's next? I can push the boundaries here. What am I doing? And at the time as well, it was 2019, Ireland was dipping their toes into the tech sector. But I just knew that, Toronto had such, a tech scene here and that there's way more cooler organisations. There was a bigger opportunity for me to really break into that industry. And that was like one of my goals that year. And I knew, if I went abroad and I just took that risk, like my career was going really well in Dublin, but I just had that urge to just push myself forward and challenge myself. So I took the leap, applied for the visa for a 2-year work permit, came over with my boyfriend and we're here since. And the first role I got here in Toronto was in a digital marketing agency. And I was really trying to focus on, recruiting for those tech positions in the agency. And that really kind of, sparked my interest and gave me some light and just really felt that I was working towards what I wanted to work towards and, dipping my toes back into HR. But then I came across TribalScale and I was fascinated. Even their website, I was like, wow. When I saw the HR manager position become available, I was like, this has to be mine. I want this. Like, I am going for it. So I researched their case studies. I was looking online, researched their socials. I was like, okay, everything's going really well. And from what I've known through the industry, they're a super awesome place to work. I want to be part of that. So I got an interview, met the old HR manager, Tina, and she was fantastic. And it was just how I describe it and what I hope people, when they interview with TribalScale, feel is that it was just a conversation. It just felt natural. It was easy. There is no obviously you get your nerves a little bit before an interview, but the minute you start talking to the interviewer and you feel calm and relaxed, that's when I think it's a really good experience.
Right.
Then I went on to meet our chief of staff, Heather, who I now get to work so closely with daily. And then I met Sheil, who's our CEO. And when I met everyone, I came away and I was like, this is a part of me. Like, I love what they're aiming for. I love their mission. I love their values. I love their work ethic. Sheil's quote is, he wants smart and hungry people to work here. And, even now in our HR team, what we say is when we're interviewing, which we can talk about later on, is that we look at the people first and the person as a person. What will they bring to TribalScale? Will they fit in with our culture here at TribalScale? And then we look at the experience, which I think is really amazing as someone who's a people person. And I think people can bring so much with their personality and that hunger to, to grow and develop themselves. I think it's amazing. So since then, I've been here. So that's my journey. Sorry, I probably blabbled on a little bit there.
No, that was amazing.
Yeah,
Thank you.
It's a little intense, a bit of a shift. Most people don't know that about me, that I started in science. But here I am now in the world of HR and I'm loving it.
That's amazing. You kind of answered what I was going to ask next about how you chose TribalScale.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know what other companies or even countries that you're considering, because TribalScale in Canada seems like not an obvious choice from someone who isn't necessarily from the GTA.
Of course, absolutely, and that makes total sense and a brilliant question. I think for me, my last organization that I was in before TribalScale wasn't a super large organization either. I mean, I've came from, you know, Ryanair that had like 4,000 plus employees, and I've came from, you know, working those pharmaceutical companies where, you know, the office in Dublin is like a little tiny dot in the global scheme of things. And that's amazing. And I think there's absolute great exposure that anyone can get in those big organizations. But for me, I love those kind of smaller, you know, environments where you get to know everyone you're working with. You really can make an impact, or you can see kind of the problems from a holistic, you know, view where, you know, if it's a HR issue, I can see how that will really impact the whole organization, or maybe a new initiative that I want to bring in, how it really will benefit or won't benefit the organization that I work for. So it's really just the connections, the relationship building opportunities, the impact you can make in a smaller organization, and just being able to kind of really get into the weeds of what we're doing here and what is the vision. And I think that's what I wanted to do in my next firm before I came to TribalScale, was find that smaller organization. Let me go in, let me grow, let me push my own boundaries, because in a smaller organization you wear 10 more hats, you know. You're not just the HR manager, you're, you know, you're doing a bit of operations. I'm coaching leadership, I'm coaching my team, I might be coaching engineering managers. The daily tasks change from like Monday to Tuesday, and like from one week to the next it's completely different. So that's really why when I found TribalScale and I really dig deep, first of all, I suppose that was the type of, you know, organization I was targeting, let's just say, for my next move. As I said before, TribalScale, it was that digital marketing agency. It was a little bit bigger than TribalScale, and there's about 200 people there. But even still, I was like, no, let me go smaller. Let me really get into the weeds and absorb more, you know?
Right. Another question that I have around like your experience in recruiting at TribalScale is, like, TribalScale is, I think it's slowly gaining like notoriety. Like people are learning about it, you know, in small ways. Like this is one of them. Like listening about TribalScale on a podcast. As like interest grows, and you know you get more applicants on every job posting, right? How do you find that balance of like the personal like feel of any hiring process, right? Because I've kind of gone through the process at like big companies, and it's not very personal, right? Like for the most part, it's you either have no contact with a human being, or if you do, it's pretty limited. While, you know, at TribalScale, at these smaller companies, you are talking to a real person, and they're putting a lot more attention on every application. How have you found maintaining the ability to like give every application like a really, really good look, and like really consider the right people in the right way, as TribalScale sort of, you know, grown in scale, not necessarily in company size, but just in like interest among like the public?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really great question, Jason. What I think we do is it's a very collaborative approach that we take to recruitment. I think we try and get everyone's hands in the pot from an organization standpoint. I suppose it starts with our team, right? And like, you know, not just being biased here, but I have a fantastic team at TribalScale. You've met them at the career fair. You know, they're super personable, super jolly, super positive, really approachable. And that's what my vision is when I'm recruiting for my team is, you know, I say in every interview, you need to be super awesome, super love people the whole time, be really, really approachable, and want people to talk to you.
Yeah.
You know, that's the most important. I think that's what happens sometimes in bigger organizations, that people tend to just, not every organization, I want to speak for everyone, but they can become a number. And, you know, you need to make sure, and this is across the board, that everyone feels valued. And if everyone feels valued and they feel that their work is meaningful, that's one thing at TribalScale that, you know, Sheila always wants to make sure is that everyone in this organization's work is meaningful. Because when employees' work is meaningful, they will really just, you know, light will come from them, and they'll be so super interested in what they're working on. And that's with my team. I want to make sure they realize the impact they're making from all the responsibilities on their tasks. So that's where I start with, is just making sure you know, they're valued, they know they're valued here, and they know the purpose of what they're doing here and how it contributes to the company overarching goals, right? So that's where it starts. What we do is we do a lot of thought leadership as well here at TribalScale. So we have, like, I don't know if you've seen our blogs on our website and what we post on Medium, but all of us in TribalScale are required to write blog posts on, you know, on our industry and what we do. So from HR perspective, all published blog posts, the girls on my team will publish blog posts, engineers, product design, all of us are publishing it. So that in itself gives some kind of personal impact to candidates if they're researching us and they see, you know, they might see a product designer or a software engineer and they'll see their thoughts and their interests, and maybe, you know, that gives them a positive, you know, experience where they're like, oh God, you know, that person only joined 3 months ago and they're getting published on their Medium blog. That's amazing.
Yeah, I've never heard of anything like that, and that's really cool.
We're all encouraged to do it, you know, and we all have like statistics of how many blogs that as a department we need to write, because, you know, that helps the candidate experience itself. And we also publish on our YouTube. We have our own podcast for Same Bases, and, you know, even our social, we're trying to push as much as we can to show some insight on of the life here at TribalScale, and what, you know, hopefully when candidates look at their socials or look at our LinkedIn, they can kind of envision themselves working here, and, you know, through the podcast, they can feel what is our culture like. And then I suppose that's the kind of the external things we do internally as well. You know, we try as a HR team, you know, make sure that we're constantly revising processes. I mean, it's like a thing that we're kind of obsessed with. It's basic an agile approach to how we do HR and recruitment here. You know, we try things out in the process for a while, we'll revise it and see where it can be implemented or improved or integrated on somehow. And that's just looking at it from a candidate and what is that experience like from them. You know, going through this interview process from, as I said earlier on, starting by applying on our careers website. Is our careers website good enough? You know, is it a nice experience for the candidate looking there? Are they actually getting an insight to what we're doing and what they can gain by working at TribalScale? And then right up until they meet the teams that they're interviewing first. So recently, you know, like, again, just one of these kind of iterative process that we do to look at our processes, we've implemented interview guides. So for each role that we recruit for now, when people are doing phone screens and get to the next stage, we will send them an interview guide specific to that role. And it's not like divulging any top secrets, but it's just more like, this is what the process is going to look like. This is how long the interview will generally be. This is what we look for. Here's some tips to help people, you know, because why do you want to go into any interview process not knowing what to expect? So they're the kind of things that we're implementing each and every week and coming up with new creative ideas on how to improve that candidate experience.
I think all these, I think all these little things really like add up. Which application platform do you use? You guys use Greenhouse?
No, we actually use Workable for our ATS. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And it's fine, and it does the job, you know. It's no genius AI tool by any means, but you know, it's connected up to our careers website, and it's just very user friendly.
Gotcha.
You know, you just can create your job descriptions in there, post it to a multiple of job boards in the space of 3 clicks.
Right.
So I mean, I'll take that. You know, give us back a bit more time.
Yeah, I you know, because I'm in my 4th year, right? I'm graduating, so a lot of my time this semester has been applying and interviewing for jobs. One of the platforms that a lot of companies use is it Workday?
Yeah. Using the Workday?
Yeah. Sorry, that's different than Workable?
Exactly. Yeah, Workday is basically, we haven't used it, but it's another ATS system where I think that's the one where you need to create an account.
Brutal.
Like, I don't want to like shame it too much,
goodness.
But it's such a turn off for the candidate.
It just kills the top of the funnel.
Literally.
Because like nobody wants to make an account to apply for a job. Why?
Totally
I don't understand why they ask us to do that. I don't know why it's necessary. At least stick it at the end after they've already sunk all the costs.
In. Yeah.
Oh,
I know. That's one thing as well. Like, even, what I always, if I'm speaking to people at my, my network, and, they're talking about the struggles of recruiting in tech, and, there, I suppose, a couple of months ago specifically, it was really competitive, yourself, with engineers, the big organizations, they seem so attractive when you're in university, and, you're just like, I want to go to the Googles, and I want to go to the Shopifys, I want to go to the Amazons, but, you have to remember as well, those organizations still need to take care of the candidate experience and put thought into it. So I even think something simple like that is like your ATS system. Is that a nice, smooth process for people to apply for jobs on? Because that could be the difference of someone applying or someone saying, you know what, I'm too stressed.
Honestly.
Like, I'm in my final year. I've got my thesis. I've got like 10 million assignments to complete. I don't have the time to set up an account.
Honestly.
So
what does ATS stand for?
So application tracking system. Sorry. Okay. Yeah. Here's
no
me trying out the HR lingo.
So I'm just curious about like how like an ATS works.
Yeah.
What's on your end, like what do you see and like what do you have? Like, what tools does it give you?
Yeah, great question. I can show you after to have the visual image of it. But basically what it is, it's just the back end of our career website basically. And we have like, different tabs where it's like candidate pools. So people that have applied to our roles previously. And then all the jobs that we currently have open are basically in a list. And you can see like, if you click into every job, there's the applications there, all the resumes that have applied. The next tab, let's say, are the people that you've moved to a HR screen. In those tabs, you can like automatically send, messages to schedule interviews, or unfortunately, if you need to reject a candidate, you can kind of do it all through the system in there. And it's a way, I suppose, of managing your applications and managing the stages of which the candidates are in those applications as well. So say, for example, product manager role, right? You'll see all the people that have applied. You'll see maybe 10 to 20 people in HR screening, 2 in first round with the hiring manager, 1 maybe in the final round with the VP of product, and then we'll see someone in offer stage, let's hope.
Yeah.
So it's a really clean process. But yeah, and we create our jobs in there, as I said, with 3 clicks, copy and paste our job descriptions from our Word document, and bing, up it goes on all the career websites. It's brilliant.
Okay, great. That provides me a lot of insight on like what you guys are interacting with, because I don't think as like an applicant we really know like what's going on. I think there's a lot of like confusion around like what you guys are doing with the applications,
absolutely.
Like whether or not people see them, because it feels like a lot of them are just like it feels like you don't have a real shot, right?
I know. And
so
that's tragic.
I know.
That people feel like that, especially like you yourself, Jason. You're here in the engineering department of U of T. Like you're in your final year. It's such a fantastic degree that you're doing, and you should never feel that an application you're making, it's just going into the ether and no one's even getting to look at it. So absolutely, and I think that probably is a good point to bring up, is like how to actually enhance your resume and get it noticed, because you probably feel that sometimes you don't even hear back from some organizations.
Oh yeah, all the time.
Yeah But like what I always say when people ask me, they're like, Nicola, what can we do to make my resume stand out, or make sure that the hiring manager, the recruiter, looks at it? And honestly, it might sound so simple and straightforward, but like I say these and I like believe in them with my whole heart, is that the first thing is read the job description. I know that's so self-explanatory, and I know people are like, oh yeah, of course we're going to read the job description, but you will be surprised how many resumes that we review that like literally the job description could be for like, a senior software engineer, and I get someone maybe like a dog groomer apply for it, and I'm like, we won't even be able to give you a call, which is so unfortunate, because I love, figuring out about people and what they're doing. But again, we're recruiting, we're doing HR, we're doing culture. Time is of the essence. So read the job description, tailor your resume with the keywords of the job description to make sure that they're included in that resume. So for example, product management, right? So the experience of maybe projects that you've managed and products that maybe on some projects you've done in university, if you don't have real life experience, but I know you are so fortunate that you've had fantastic co-ops. So all that experience that you would have had in those co-ops, make sure the relevant ones are highlighted in your resume. Don't do big long essays or paragraphs. We don't want that. We're just looking for the keywords, you know.
Yeah.
And good recruiters are really experienced at picking out those keywords in literally about 20 seconds, to be honest. So make sure that the keywords are there and that it's speaking to the job description. So what will happen then is the recruiter will see the keywords and they're saying, yes, tick, this person is, you know, I'm getting a bit more, spending a bit more time on this. What I always do is then I try and find their LinkedIn from their resume. So always have your LinkedIn, the link there on top of your resume so that the hiring manager, the recruiter can go straight into your LinkedIn because they want to dig a little bit more, see what else you did, you know, and just to see, okay, does the LinkedIn match up to the resume? So then always have your LinkedIn up to date. Third thing then is what I always suggest is show your personality on it. You know, have you volunteered? Are you, you know, into basketball? Are you into hockey? Are you into, you know, arts, crafts, whatever it is? I always want to see what the person behind this resume is. And that's so important. You know, like, of course you're going to join an organization. Of course you're going to, you know, develop your skills and bring great, you know, new ideas and suggestions to the organization. But can we work with this person? You know, is this person going to be like adding to the culture? And that's like the most important thing that you could probably take away from this podcast is add your personality to the resume. And the next thing I would say is just, you know, do your research as well. You know, make sure that the organization you're applying for is actually for you and that the job is for you as well, you know. But yeah, they're kind of the main tips for resume enhancement to try and get noticed a little bit more.
That's great advice. Thank you.
No
I
worries.
think there's even more questions that we have related to you
Yeah.
know the hiring that I'm getting from students. Like one of them I have here is kind of what you mentioned about like how recruiters, like really good ones, can look at a resume, you know, give it 20 seconds, and can get an idea of like whether or not they're gonna, you know, pass it off to the next stage or to not,
Yeah.
right? Is that a good rule of thumb to follow that a recruiter or whoever's looking at your first look resume is going to be spending, you know, 15, 20 seconds and not much longer?
Yeah. I would say it's like, you know, it's not the exact like
Right.
absolute theory of the world, but like I'd say it's a very good rule of thumb. And the reason I say why is because, you know, I even know with my team, like, you know, at any stage, if it's a super busy time, they could have like 4 to 5 roles each that they're recruiting for. Unless it's like during co-op recruiting season and there's like nearly 10 roles each. So when you're going through these applications and you're getting hundreds of applications for some particular roles, you know, as I said, good recruiters will be able to pick out those keywords in 15 to 20 seconds. So I think it's good for you from a perspective of, you know, making sure your resume is where it should be and, you know, the level it should be. Take that approach to it so that you're removing unnecessary paragraphs that don't need to be there. You know, make sure you're putting quality, you know, every word in your resume should be there for a reason.
All killer, no filler.
Yeah, literally. You said it better than myself, you know. So that's what every single word. Like, don't put stuff in where you're just kind of filling the page.
Right.
One page is amazing. It's music to my ear when I see it. I'm like, clean, fresh, super easy to read.
Yeah, no, not a big fan of two-pagers, eh?
No, definitely not. Love the one. It's just so much
Yeah.
easier to read,
Makes
review, and you just get a better insight to the candidate.
Makes sense. Do you know if you can speak for sure about TribalScale, but do
Yeah.
you know if, you know, in general, resumes are being read straight up, like looking at the PDF file, looking at the paper file, or are they just throwing it in a parser and then reading it afterward? Because that like really, I think, matters.
Yeah.
If it is that case.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's a mixture at the moment that's going on. I think in the world of tech, there's a lot of AI recruitment tools out there that, you know, bigger organizations will use because, you know, they're trying to grow, they've multiple positions open, and there's just not enough people in the recruitment department to be able to review every single resume that comes in. So in terms of an efficient standpoint, they will use like an AI kind of tool to take the keywords out of there and, you know, show them the resumes that have those, say, 5 to 6 keywords that they're looking for. So yeah, it does happen and it is out there. The smaller organizations won't have that. They'll just kind of more want to own that process. But I mean, I'm a fan of emerging technologies. So if there's a way that can improve efficiencies in any way, I think, yes, let's welcome it. But I think it's a 50-50 at the moment in terms of HR of, using those softwares to kind of pick out the resumes that speak more to the job description, as opposed to, a recruiter or HR professional sitting down and reading every line of the resume.
Right. So would you say that it is really valuable to make sure that your resume does work with a parser?
I think it would be very sensible to do that,
Right.
specifically if you're focusing your search on those bigger organizations as well. But it's even smaller ones will have this. It's not just the bigger ones.
Right.
But I think in general, coming back to my earlier point, just make sure you have the keywords on that resume and that it's speaking to the job description.
Right.
And especially if you're applying for different type of roles in your field, don't use the same resume for them all.
Okay.
Take time. Take that 5 minutes. Like, have your template and edit the necessary projects or, elements of responsibilities you had in your co-op to the job description that you're applying for, because those 5 extra minutes, I mean it, will make the world of a difference, rather than just a generic resume that's not really speaking to the role.
Right. Amazing. Thank you so much. I think that insight's really going to help students, especially graduating students and co-op students,
Yeah.
really understand like how to play this game, right? Because like as much as we, as personal as we want to make any hiring process, I'm sure there are games to the rule. Like you gotta have a resume that fits the description. You gotta have the right skills. You gotta say the right things. And as we try to find that balance, about like, hey, do I want to flex like maybe my experiences, or do I want to show off more of like my personality? I think everyone tries to find that balance for themselves.
Yeah.
But it's really valuable to just know a little bit of like what the rules of the game are.
Yeah, absolutely. And you need to know the rules to play the game, right?
Yeah.
So absolutely. And I think like taking time and not feeling like pressure to go in and just throwing a resume together under pressure and not really showcasing who you are as a person and your experience and your education. Take the time, sell yourself to the best. Like, everyone has such amazing things to bring to every organization. Make sure that you're putting that down on the resume,
Right. Do you read cover letters? Do you know if companies read cover letters, or is that something that like is not worth the time, especially compared to a resume?
I'm going to be honest, and like maybe I'm going against some, HR professionals in my network who literally will care for cover letters. I do not read cover letters. Hands up. Like, honestly, being really, really honest, I don't. The reason being is that I think, number one, your resume is telling me enough if it's good enough, right? Like, if you've spent the time to put the details of your skills and experience in your university education there, amazing, right? And then you have your extracurricular activities, you have your volunteering there. Brilliant. You're painting the picture for me. Then I'm looking for the LinkedIn, as I said. Let me see. You'll have your headshot there. I'm really getting to know you. This is like in the first 30 seconds, we're already painting the picture. And then if it's, say, like a product design role, right, I'll hopefully have your portfolio there. That's more important than the cover letter. If you're a software engineer, hopefully I'll see your GitHub link there. We can dive in there and have a little look. So that's my thought process when I'm recruiting. So if I see a cover letter, I'm like, that's like the last thing I'm ever going to read, because
It's a lot of words.
It's a lot of words. I don't have time to read them. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, like, everything else is after painting such a tremendous experience for me and a picture of who this person and candidate is and how they can benefit the organization. The cover letter to me is too generic, and I think there's way too many templates, and
Right.
people panic with the cover letters as well. They're like, I've experienced in this, this, and this, and this, and like, it's not telling me more about them, and
Right.
I just think, have your LinkedIn up to date, have your GitHub if you're an engineer, linked to the resume, have your portfolio in there as well if you're a designer, and just solid examples of any projects that are relevant to the role you're applying for. And you're good to go then. There's
Right.
really no need to panic about every application writing a new letter. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's
It's
not probably not worth their time.
No, it's
Yeah.
really not. And especially, for students entering the workforce in their final year, they have enough to do with assignments and thesis and final year projects, you know?
Right.
Don't write 50, 100 letters just to reiterate what's on the resume. It's not efficient. It's not smart, you know?
Yeah. I actually have one last question around like resumes.
Mm-hmm.
I heard I heard that you shouldn't add a photo on your resume. And I think that's like intuitively it doesn't make sense. It's like
Yeah.
I feel like having a photo of my face can only help you understand like who I am, right?
Yeah.
But I've also heard that there's other maybe more logistical reasons that you can't have photos on your resume or shouldn't.
Yeah.
Do you have like insight on that?
Yeah, well, you know what? There's been lots of conversations about this on should the photo be on the resume or should it not be on the resume. To me, like what I recommend is no need to put it on your resume. Have your LinkedIn up to date with
Right.
professional headshot there.
Right.
I mean, you can take such awesome professional headshots with your iPhone these days. You know, we've all done it in the bedroom trying to find a white wall and getting a super nice pic. So you don't need to be paying big fees for any professional headshots. Do it yourself. Put the timer on. You can get great edits as well. We don't complain, but that's what my recommendation is. I think, you know, keep your resume to the words, the project, the links, and have the link to your LinkedIn there with the professional headshot, and keep the space for your projects for your resume, you know, like, or the relevant experience. Like, to me, when I see it, I'm not going to be like, why is that photo there? I'm indifferent, you know, but I think keep the space and keep it for your LinkedIn. I just think give your space back on your resume, specifically if you're trying to do a one-pager.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you for that advice.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay, I think we can not. I'm not gonna say switch gears. It's pretty adjacent. Are there things that you found like common mistakes that students or even non-students make when applying? It doesn't have to be about a resume or you know a cover letter, but in general, like application mistakes that you've seen.
I suppose, as I said earlier on, not kind of applying to the job that's relevant to them. Number 2 is not researching the organization. And I know I mentioned this and kind of touched on it earlier on. You know, this is for every organization, not specifically just TribalScale. Really go into research mode. What is this organization about? You know, what do they do? What's their values? Like, what do they stand for? What's the culture like? You know, read online. Is there reviews of them? What's people saying? What's the growth trajectory of people? Looked on LinkedIn. You know, do they have a diverse workforce? Are there people there where I think I can work, you know, in those fields? What projects are they working on? And check out the socials, as I said, check out the podcast to really get a feel for it, because when I'm interviewing and a candidate, it doesn't matter what level, if it's, you know, a co-op to the most senior VP of, you know, product design for argument's sake, and they have done their research on the organization, it is music to my ears. I'm like, this person's super interested in this role. And now I'm even more interested in speaking to this person because they know about what we do here and I want to sell this to them, you know.
Right.
They want to know more. And I think that's where people fall down, is not showing that they've researched the organization, because if you do and you take time to do that and show the interviewer that you've researched and you know what they're about, it just is a way easier conversation and you just show that you really want the role. And I think that's just incredible to do that in an interview. What else would I say? I think as well, just, you know, not asking questions in the interview process when you get to that stage. You know, the interview, what I say for every interview that I conduct is, at the start, I'm like, this is just a chat. It's a two-way conversation for me to figure out if you're a good fit for us here at TribalScale, and for you to figure out if TribalScale is a good fit for you. You know, I want someone, when we offer the position, to really want to work here and know this is the place for them.
Right.
Because once you get in the door, it's an incredible place and you'll be on an incredible journey. And you know, you'll really progress in every avenue of your career, your skill set, and you'll be pushed and challenged to really reach your potential. But you know, you need to make sure it's the right place for you to do that. So always have your questions ready. You know, come up with a list of 3 questions that, you know, are really, really important, that will give you insight to say, yes, this place is for me.
Awesome. Amazing. Cool. I think we can kind of like wind down.
Yeah.
Just like one question to kind of wrap it up. Are there like projects that you recall, like new grads or co-ops working on? Because I think I'm not going to say a fear, but something that happens with some organizations, with co-ops, and less so with new grads,
Yeah.
is that they're working on these like offshoot, side projects, and I don't think that's the best for anyone.
Yeah.
What is TribalScale's what kind of projects do new grads and co-ops work on at TribalScale?
No, absolutely. That's another great question. We kind of pride ourselves here at TribalScale, even with our co-op program. It's quite incredible actually that when they come into TribalScale as a co-op, they're seen as a regular employee. They're given real responsibility, and that's one thing I think maybe on the flip side they might struggle with at the start is how much responsibility that they're actually being given and how much trust is placed upon them, because we believe that, I always say it, I probably was speaking to you at the career fair, like, you guys are learning the most recent cutting edge things that's in the industry and the best practices for 2022 into 2023. Why would we not want to give you real responsibility and, pick your brain and for you to challenge us on what we've been doing? So our co-ops, grads, doesn't matter, what level, you will come in and you will work on real projects and be given real responsibility for day one. Our recent co-op program that started in September, we are, absolutely amazed by the work they've done since September. It's been like, I think they're here like 6 weeks. Everyone's like, oh my God, Nicola, like, wow, these co-ops are incredible. The work they're doing with the clients is unbelievable, Two of our engineering co-ops, they actually created an NFT marketplace app where we have a NYC New York dinner coming up this week for our clients, and we actually have our own NFT minting app, so at the dinner our clients will be able to mint their own NFTs and get like a TribalScale NFT afterwards, which is so awesome.
That's so cool.
Our co-ops built that.
Wow.
With obviously, the guidance of our director of architecture, Sergey, who was at the fair with us as well a couple of weeks ago. But that's the insight. Like, they are working on real projects, and what happens with us is we get repeated co-ops to come back for their next co-op, because they're like, the opportunity that I had and the empowerment that I felt while working here at TribalScale, I don't know if I can go into another organization and, as you said, work on kind of small side projects that are just not meaningful,
right,
and they're not getting that experience and exposure that they kind of want.
Okay, amazing. Sorry, it's actually I do have one more question.
Yeah.
Just so the students know, what kind of co-ops and new grad positions are you hiring for?
Yeah. So basically, we've nearly closed our winter co-op program for January, but we still have a sales and a HR co-op open. So if anyone wants to apply for that, feel free. But generally, we are going to start early next year, recruit for our spring co-op program, which starts in May and runs right through the summer, and we will be starting to look at new grads there as well. So what we hire for is software engineers, and specifically looking for people who are interested in React Native, or Node.js. We do a little bit of Android and iOS, but we're trying to shift more to focus on those three tech stacks. Product designers, so UX, user research, a bit of UI in there as well. Also QA engineers and product managers. So they're kind of our main delivery team that we have most of our kind of early grad positions going to be starting in, and we're going to be looking at that pipeline of talent coming in when they graduate next year. But for the co-op program, we hire for marketing, sales, and, as I said, product, QA, engineering, and design. So yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you so
Basic
much.
bit of everything.
Yeah, that's pretty much everything that I could think of.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. This was great.
Thanks
so
for
much
coming on the
opportunity.
pod.
Yeah, brilliant. Enjoyed it. Thanks so much.
Thanks. Hope to talk to you soon.
Yeah, chat soon.
That was good.
Was that okay?
That was good.